Welcome to this week's episode of Rachel Gaffney's Real Ireland. I'm live from my home here in Dallas, Texas. I'm not in the Lincoln Center, where I normally am with the team, and I miss them all, but we're all working remotely and doing the best we can. They were asking me the other day, where should we visit this week? You know, people are still going to travel eventually. They may not be traveling now, but they will be traveling soon. And I was saying, well, what about the sunny southeast coast of Ireland? What about Wexford? And few people said to me, I've never been to Wexford, and Irish people who haven't actually been to Wexford. So come along with us and let's have a little journey to Wexford on the sunny southeast coast of Ireland. There are so many reasons why you should be visiting Wexford, not least of which is packed full of history, chock-a-block with history. And indeed, there are reasons why it's dubbed the sunny southeast, which sometimes sounds like an oxymoron in Ireland, but they do get the most amount of sunshine days out of the year than all the other counties. So let's go on a little journey to County Wexford and see some of the places, meet some of the people, and we've got some treats for you up shortly. County Wexford, gosh, what can I say about it? Let's get started. The Vikings invaded Wexford back in the 8th century. And then just about less than 2 centuries later, I'd say it was, almost 2 centuries later, yes, the Normans invaded. So Wexford are no strangers to invaders. When we can start on the outer coast, and just about 5 kilometers off the coast are the Salty Islands. And the Salty Islands are located about, I'd say, 5 kilometers, 3 or 4 miles from Wexford. They're privately owned islands, but you can visit them. And the Salty Islands are divided up into 2 islands, actually. One is the Greater Island and one is the Little Salty Island. But a little known fact is the large island is known as one of the best and famous bird sanctuaries in Ireland. So if you want to go there and see all this beautiful natural bird wildlife and puffins, you can go across there, and they allow you to do some day trips, and that's just well worth a visit. Moving inland, we can move to New Ross and go take a visit to Tintern Abbey. Tintern Abbey was founded in 1200 by William Marshall, and William Marshall was the Earl of Pembroke. This abbey is located about 10 miles from New Ross, or 16 kilometers. And it takes its name from Tintern Abbey in Wales. And the story or the legend goes that the Earl was on a ship and encountered the most treacherous of storms. He vowed to establish a monastery if he reached land safely. Well, as you can see, he did reach land safely, and true to his word, he did build this abbey. So this is another location that you can check out when you're visiting Wexford. Another location is Dunbrody Famine Ship and Immigration Experience, or the Irish Immigrant Experience. And this is also located in New Ross. The Dunbrody Famine Ship is a very famous ship. This ship was originally built in the 1840s, 1845 to be precise, by a merchant family in Wexford. The ship was built in Quebec, and it was used to import and export materials. Now, we all know that in 1845, the famine hit Ireland, and this ship quickly had to be used as a passenger ship. So the family had to stop using it for cargo, and they had to fit it out bunks for the immigrants who were fleeing to North America and to Canada. So this famine ship was used between 1845 and 1851. And now they have a recreation of this ship located in Wexford, and you can visit this. It's a wonderful experience. You can take the family and really get a feel for what it was like in those times. So that's the Dunbrody Famine Ship experience. Moving on, then we go to visit Enniscorthy Castle, which is, of course, in the town of Enniscorthy. This is about 30 minutes north from New Ross. This castle was built in the 13th century, and it was home to Norman knights, English armies, Irish rebels, Irish prisoners, and merchant families. The Ross Tapestries. Now, the Ross Tapestries are something that you really don't want to miss. These were the brainchild of the Reverend Paul Mooney, and they were inspired by the Bayeux Tapestries in France. You might know the Bayeux Tapestries. these tapestries, they started making these probably back in 1998. I hope I'm not wrong. I might be out by a year, but 1998, and they got 150 volunteers in Wexford and from some surrounding counties actually, to stitchers, to make this beautiful tapestry. There's 15 panels, and I believe they're still currently working on one of the panels. And these tapestries are telling the story of the Norman invasion in Ireland. So those are something that are well worth a visit for anybody who likes history and culture. After the Ross Tapestries, and getting some culture, you might want to take a visit to Hook Lighthouse. And Hook Lighthouse is actually the oldest lighthouse in Europe, and it is the oldest operating lighthouse in the world. And it's set on a magnificent location there on the Hook Peninsula. This is again something that you really want to check out and visit. The Irish National Heritage Park. Gosh, this is such an experience. This will cover 9,000 years of Irish history, and you can journey through the prehistoric and early Christian eras here at this national park, and it covers about 40 acres. It's incredible. It's got woodlands and everything, so well worth a visit. And you'll also see the dolmen there, one of the original dolmens. And a dolmen, to see a dolmen up close, it's the beautiful stone that you see here. You just have to be there and feel, gosh, these people that were here before me, how do they lift this? How do they do this without cranes? And how do they do this without, it was long before the invention of the wheel. So these are head scratchers for sure, but very, very Celtic in nature. You can take a lovely visit to Kilmukey Country Manor and Gardens, another beautiful property in County Wexford. The Salties, again, I mentioned the Salty Islands, and Vinegar Hill. So for those of you that love the outdoors and want to hike and walk, there's absolutely no shortage of this in Ireland. The colours, the woods, the trees, the flowers. I mean, it's a breathtaking county. And then if you like country houses and you haven't had enough culture, you can go to Johnston House and visit there. Now, while you're there, and of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the John F. Kennedy Park and Arboretum, which is named after, of course, John F. Kennedy, the president, and nod to his ancestors who came from County Wexford. Or the Duncannon Fort, which is the star-shaped military fort overlooking the sea there, the ocean there, when they were afraid of invasion. In fact, this star-shaped fort was built around 1588. And it was when they were expecting an attack from the Spanish Armada. So that's another wonderful fort to visit. So you can see that covers an awful lot of history there in Wexford. Now, if you're staying there, there's a property there that I love, and it's called Dunbrody House. And Dunbrody House is a Georgian property in Wexford, and it's owned by husband and wife team, Chef Kevin Dundon and his wife, Catherine. And I follow Kevin on his Instagram and see him cooking every day at the moment. So I reached out to Kevin and said, look, we're all stuck in our houses. People can't get there just yet, but I'd love them to take a visit and get to know you both. So we did. We set up a little chat with them yesterday, and we had quite a few laughs, I have to say. I had to edit out some of it. It's a PG show and everything. But you can tell by watching this, you'll see the kind of character emerging from Kevin Dundon, but just take a look and see what you think. All right, and tuning in from Ireland, from the sunny southeast coast, we have Catherine and Kevin Dundon from Dunbrody House. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thank you. Here.
So first, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, because it's a very Irish question. How's the weather in Wexford right now?
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Blue skies. I've just come in from the garden and just put my top on. I was out there in shorts sunbathing.
I was going to say he's in shorts.
See, that's the beauty of these calls. We can, what does it say, business on the bottom, party on the top?
No, it's the other way around.
Let's get back to what we're talking about. So I'm thrilled you guys could join us. And I think just to remind people how this all came about, when I was choosing different counties and different places, and we tried to visit somewhere different in Ireland, whether it's a different county, different property, meet a different personality. I've been watching Instagram probably like everybody else at the moment. And who am I seeing on Instagram at 2 o'clock every day? Well, 2 o'clock in Ireland. That's 8 p.m. here Central Time, because we're in Texas, so Central Time, and 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Kevin, you're on there every day cooking. Could you give us a little quick rundown on what you're doing and what's happening, and just tell us what's happening on Instagram?
Yeah, so basically it's myself and my daughter. So Sophie is 16 going on 17, and so Sophie videos me. And basically I just decided that, like everybody's cocooned at home or staying at home, and just to give a little bit of inspiration on what to cook for dinner tonight. So we kind of do these between 6 and 10 minute short videos of very normal food, and just kind of bring a bit of humanity back into people's homes. So it's anything from a beef stew to an Irish soda bread to scones to bread and butter pudding to like yesterday I did a lovely pan-seared piece of cod with lovely cherry tomatoes and potatoes. It was all in one pot. But it's really taken off. There's an awful lot of people watching them. And what's really, really nice, whatever about the numbers are huge, but what's really nice is the comments. It's like people are thanking us for doing it, and they're waiting for 2 o'clock every day to enjoy them. And they're asking questions, particularly on Instagram, and we're answering them, which is great.
That. And Sophie, can I just say your daughter Sophie is doing this too, because she's really good. Because I've heard you a few times, Sophie, get it over here into this bowl.
Yeah. But
you are a producer and executive producer, right?
Yes. Yeah. But what's funny about Sophie is because everybody wants to see Sophie. Sophie won't turn the camera around, but she has a couple of times by mistake. but and the last time I said, okay, turn the camera around, and everyone wants to see, and she said, okay, and she never did. So she was there tasting the food, pretending she turned the camera around, and she never did. So anyways, one of these fine days, maybe on her birthday. Her birthday is the 13th of April, so maybe on her birthday, turn the camera
big
around.
Reveal, the big Sophie reveal.
Yeah, we'll appear with the cake.
One that she's baked herself. Because you did one the other day, I think it was a Victoria sponge or something with strawberries, and you said one of the had made it.
Yeah, no, it's something that we would actually serve here in Dunbrody House for afternoon tea. And I think we're so blessed here, being in the southeast corner of Ireland, where with the weather, our strawberries in Wexford are unbelievably good. They're so sweet and naturally sweet. So I always kind of come up with these desserts that incorporate strawberries. So the Victoria sponge with the raspberry jam, which raspberries are coming from our garden during the summer here, and we make it into a jam, and then we've got the strawberries in there with the fresh Irish cream, and the sponge is so light and delicious. And then we like cut through it and just dust with a little bit of icing sugar just to give you that extra bit of sweetness. But that with a cup of Irish tea, it's hard to beat. I know. You need to get over here.
Let's go back to Dunbrody House and how it all started. And the two of you actually lived and worked in Canada once upon a time. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Back in 1993 and 94. It was always a dream of ours to, come back and open our own place.
I was very happy.
I wanted to be beside the sea. So the mountains didn't do it for me after 12 months. So we came back we got married in 94 and came back about 3 months later. Kevin went to the Shelburne Hotel as the executive head chef, and we moved back lock, stock and barrel. And then from when we were living in Dublin, then we were looking around at, what was coming up for sale around the country. And we really wanted to find a place that would be open 12 months of the year, so that it would be, a year-long business rather than a seasonal business. So we did really restrict ourselves from, sort of Dublin down the east coast and as far as Waterford. So it's the whole Wicklow, Wexford, Waterford. So all within 2 to 2.5 hours of Dublin. And Kevin was walking by an estate agent around the corner from the Shelburne and saw Dunbrody in the window.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then the hilarious thing about it was that we came down to view Dunbrody, and when you were looking at these houses around Ireland, the owners actually show you around, so you don't have a realtor. And we walked into the house, and we used to be just rushed around the house, and then we were ages outside in the garden. We always thought, and we'd leave the house and go, we fell in love with it instantly.
So when did you actually buy the house? When did you buy Dunbrody?
October, the end of October 94. 96, yeah.
And I moved down here on the 31st of January of 97 and lived in a caravan as site manager. And we opened May 3rd to a wedding on that year.
Did you have to do anything to Dunbrody when you purchased it? No?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're still doing it.
It never stops.
Can only imagine.
Progress, Rachel.
Because just to tell everybody, so Dunbrody is a Georgian property, so these gorgeous homes come with their own, I'd say, quite a workload to maintain and upkeep these historical properties.
Yeah, the house was built in 1830, so we're nearly 200 years old. So it's a Georgian.
Not us, the house.
It's a lovely Georgian property that, it's got the lovely high ceilings, lovely bright Georgian windows and French doors going out into the garden. And all of the rooms here all connect one into the next, which is a really lovely feel.
On the ground floor, not your bedrooms.
That's a very special property. That has its own.
Very special. Very special.
That's for a different audience.
Hotel then. So we started with 10 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then we had 12, then we came up to 20, and now when we had to put a new roof on a few years ago, we added the other extra 2 bedrooms, so we're 22 bedrooms now.
Can you tell people who the old Stewart's house is?
Yeah, the Stewart's house was I guess if you put it into context of a hotel, he would have been the general manager of the hotel, but he was the general manager of the estate.
Yeah, the estate manager.
Estate manager, so he would have managed all the staff. And in the height of Dunbrody House, when it was being run as a family house, there would have been 150 staff working here between gardens, the big fruit gardens, all the farmland, the animals, the tillage, everything was happening, and all managed by this one person. So you would have had him, and then you would have had the head housekeeper. So it was a bit like Downton Abbey in that respect. Yes. That you would have the full infrastructure, front of house, back of house feel, and even there was a bell system within the house, so there was bells in each room, and you press the bell, and some person would come in, and
you still have those?
Yeah,
we do have them, and you can not now, okay, just so you know, right? But years ago, you used to be, when you were in bed, you could press the button, and the housemaid would come up and tuck you in and give you a kiss on the cheek and put you to sleep.
Come here, there's a theme running through this property that
I know, it's great.
Not done just yet.
It's a very relaxed house.
With the maids coming up and giving you a kiss and a cuddle,
Well, that's why they used to say that when you'd have a house party, that one of the maids' jobs in all of these houses was that they had to go up and warm the bed, so that when you were coming up to go to bed. No, they used to get into the bed to warm the bed. So the sheets. Yes.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, it was one of those pan things. Those
That's
pan
those
things.
bed pans.
Those were later.
Oh.
So, Catherine, do you? Never mind. I was going to say
no, absolutely not.
And you have a cooking school, don't you?
Yeah. So the cooking school is good, and it's super if you want to incorporate Irish cooking within your vacation here in Ireland, because our courses are 1 day, 2 day, or 5 day master class. We would get quite a lot of American clients coming for the master class for 5 days, but the 1 day courses are superb. And what's great about it is that the cookery course is from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4, 3, and then you're eating till 4 if you want. And then we also have our spa as well. So if one person wants to do the cookery course and the other person wants to go to the spa, there's something for them to do.
That's really important. And can I ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget this because I get asked this all the time. I now have golfers who want to go and golf, and they want to bring their wives. That not saying that women don't golf, they do, but there are a lot that don't. and they said, where can I stay where I can play some golf? And then my wife, the girls could do something different. And this is not, don't get on to me about gender, but this is a genuine question I get asked a lot.
We're very fortunate in that respect, because we've got a number of really good golf courses. So you've got Ross which is a links course, which is about a 40-minute drive from here. You've got actually. Yeah, you've got Fate Leg, which is the course I'm a member of, which is 10 minutes from the house, which is a championship golf course.
That's just on the other side of the little car ferry.
Yeah,
really?
and that had the Solomon Cup was played there a number of years ago. So it's like at that level. Mm-hmm. You've got Tremor Golf Club course, which is an excellent golf course as well.
Another links.
And then you have a nice parkland, which is New Ross. Like I think this whole area, there's so much to do when you do your research on it. Like, I mean, you could be busy here for 3 weeks solid without going to the same place twice. So, and that's
for sure. And if somebody was to do a one-day cookery course, let's say with you, what would you typically expect them to experience in that day? Is it hands-on? Is it a demo? What would they experience?
It's a bit of both, because when you come in the morning, we do a demo. So it's kind of going through the fundamentals of cooking. We might be doing some pestos and chutneys, some breads and stuff like that in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we do hands-on cooking then that day.
Oh, that's lovely.
So it's just kind of like, it's really kind of, you come out with a lot in a day, you'd be surprised, because our course, there's never more than 10 people. So, and it's actually the kitchen that you actually see on the Instagram live, but it's, there's never more than 10 people. So it's very one-to-one. So we're very flexible. So you might come in and decide you're doing breads and soup course, for example. But when you come in, you say, listen, last week I was in my kitchen and I was trying to do creme brulee, and it just wasn't working for me. Well, we're capable of flipping out the class and incorporating creme brulee in that day for you. Or maybe you did an Irish soda bread and it didn't work out for you, or you did a bacon and cabbage and it wasn't quite right. Yes. You know, if we have the ingredients within the hotel, then we do it that day.
But what's nice for American visitors is that a lot of Irish people do the cookery course. So you're meeting, a really nice Irish clientele as well. And it's a really nice feel then, you're getting the authenticity of it.
Yes.
She's good, isn't she?
Yes. That's lovely though. No, but it is nice because they want to interact with other,
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You obviously source a lot of ingredients from your gardens. And I saw, we have a photo here which we're going to show, and we'll show some imagery of this, of, your chefs are out in the garden sourcing ingredients. Can you give us an idea of what you have on property, maybe what you might use?
I always describe Dunbrody. I've worked for a lot of international hotels all over the world. Okay. And, whether it's Famine hotels or Canadian Civic to the 40 hotel group. And the more successful you become as a chef, the less cooking you actually do. And when we opened Dunbrody House, it was because we're a smaller property. I was back in the kitchen full time. And it's something that I really love. And I describe Dunbrody as a chef's paradise for the simple reason that we're growing the majority of our own food on property. And in the afternoon, the gardener comes up with a basket of vegetables and salad and tomatoes that are coming from our garden, and that's what's being served that night in the restaurant. And equally, we would only use day boats that go out fishing from the local Duncannon, which is a mile from the house. And the fish is coming in that day, it's going on the menu that night. So it's like everything is the freshest that you can be. And I think our style of food is, letting the ingredients speak for themselves and doing simple food well. So like when you order a piece of turbot in the restaurant, the first thing I want you to see is the turbot, or is the cod, or is the fillet of beef, or the côte de boeuf. Is the first thing you should see when it comes, and it shouldn't be smothered in sauces, because we don't need to do that because the ingredients are so good.
I saw you did a beautiful grill there. So do you basically see what the fishermen have? So depending on what their catch is, do you base your menu on that, or do you look for certain products? Or
no, we basically base it on what's available to us locally on the day. So I could know 1 day or 2 days out what's available out in the sea, or and I think that's kind of a unique thing for us in the sense, and I'm very fortunate to have such a bountiful county and coastline, and even like there's guys here that actually fish off Hookhead, which is the oldest lighthouse in the world, working lighthouse in the world, which is only 10 minutes up the road. They're catching sea bass off the coastline. Mackerel is amazing once mackerel is caught and cooked that day, and just simply filleted with pan fried with lovely lemon butter on top. I mean, if you get that, the next day I smoke it because it's no good the next day, but on the day it's unbelievably good.
When you say the word, in fairness, strawberries, yes. I think growing up there, if anybody's asked me to say one word that you associate with strawberries, and I don't mean cream or anything like that, Wexford is what I think.
Yeah. Well, see, if you
don't think people understand that as much. So I say that to my friends here when they come over with me. I was like, you haven't experienced a strawberry until you've been to Wexford. Is there anything you can share about Wexford strawberries for people watching? Because over here, unfortunately, I mean, they're all produced and they taste like water and everything. Yeah. Whereas you eat a strawberry in Ireland and you're like, oh my God.
Well, I think the biggest thing I can tell you about Wexford strawberries is to book a flight and come here and taste them yourself.
Well, okay, but why is it like, why are they not so fabulous in Donegal or Kerry? You don't think about
It's the weather. It's because we get the highest amount of sunny days in the country, and that's why it's called the sunny southeast. You know, that has the biggest part to play. So it is the sunshine, but it's the variety that grows, because you pick them today. Now you have to eat them within 24 hours. You'll never see them exported because they just, unless they got flown somewhere, you know, literally on the day, because they just don't last. And that's the beauty of them.
My grandmother in Cork, my great grandmother used to have a house in Sundayswell overlooking Cork, you know, UCC in the city. Yeah. And they had rose gardens, Hackney gardens that went all the way down the hill in Shannakill or Sundayswell. Gooseberry shrubs everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've gooseberries here. They're the first berries that come out.
And we still would pick them and eat them raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why we thought they were going to get sweeter every time.
Do you know what's beautiful though? Is, and we do it like, and the gooseberries are coming out now. So normally on the restaurant now we would have a gooseberry panna cotta. So panna cotta is like just like a set cream over a compote of gooseberries, and you get that kind of sourness of the gooseberries with that sweetness of that cream on top. It's unbelievably good.
I do culinary tours. I think we need to do one, and we need to go to Dunbrody. I think I need to curate one, and we need to include Dunbrody for a few days, because I think, you know, the experience you'd have. I noticed that you have beautiful wooded walks, and then you can walk. Catherine, maybe you could tell me a little bit about places that you can walk to from the house and what you might expect to see on your walk. You know.
Well, we're really blessed with the walks that we have on the estate, first of all, and then just a little bit further afield as well. So no matter what you're interested in, or even if you're just looking for a 5-minute stroll, there's a lovely woodland walk. That's the one that I had been saying to you about, doing the forest bathing, and you go in through the woods and it's just so quiet, and you just have the bird song, and it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. It's just the most peaceful place, and it's just lovely for, you know, a little stroll. The other walk, the longer one, is the coastal walk that I sent you the footage for yesterday, and that has just got the most stunning views. Now it's, you know, it's a little bit up and downhill, so it's you have a little bit of an effort, and it's well worth it. The first part brings you down to a small private beach, and then you can come up from that, and it brings you all the way along the perimeter of the property, with views all the way over to Waterford.
One more thing, I would be remiss to not mention this and end on this note, which would be the traditional Irish pub.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Rumour has it that you don't have to go too far if you want to experience a little traditional Irish pub. As you said to me yourselves, you have 3 different locations to drink on your property.
So 5 years ago, we decided to open our own pub on property. So it's basically from the front door of the hotel, it's about a 40-yard walk to it. Yeah. and an 80-yard stumble back.
40-yard walk. What's
So
the name of the pub?
when you go in there, it's like so traditional. So it's got like it's got a slate floor in it. It's got the old kind of cobbled walls. We have a separate kitchen there, so we have a wood burning pizza oven. We have a smokehouse. We do traditional Irish food. We play live music 3 nights a week in it.
You and Catherine?
Not unless you want to clear the whole place out, Rachel.
And then there's 2 terraces. So there's a terrace on both sides. It's a real sun trap, but it's called the Local, and a lot of the locals of the area and Irish people would actually drink in there. So it's brilliant for people that are staying in the house that want to go down and kind of meet the locals as well. So it's quite a busy spot, which is great. It's not busy at the moment.
Where would you go for some good fish and chips?
There, best fish and
that.
chips in Ireland. I have to say that.
I heard that you have good fish and chips. What kind of fish do you use in your fish and chips?
Haddock mostly. It depends again what's coming in, but haddock mostly and cod. So it's the 2 fish that we'd use. So
Nothing
again,
like
it's fresh. The batter is amazing. It's a lovely beer batter, and then all the chips. The potatoes are grown. You talk about strawberries in Wexford. We're equally famous for potatoes, and it's because of the sandy soil on the coastline that the drainage on the soil is really good. So you get a lovely fluffy potato, and they're brilliant for chips. So you get this lovely crispy potato on the outside, and you break it open. It's just like a
nice
ball of fluff inside.
Chunky chips or French fries.
Chunky chips. No, chunky chips. And then when, fish and chips is extremely healthy for you. It's the healthiest way to cook fish, because when you actually cook it in the batter and you deep fry it, what you're doing is you're actually steaming the fish inside the batter, and the batter is protecting the fish. And then when you break it open, you've got beautiful white fish inside, and you can eat that. The problem is that when you eat the batter, it's not so good for you.
I know that you have something else in your repertoire, and that's authoring a couple of books, maybe? A few cookbooks?
Yeah, so fortunately we're blessed to have 7 cookbooks. I remember the first cookbook that I produced was full on Irish, was what it's called. And I never thought for a minute I'd ever write a cookbook. Really? And I remember getting my first copy of the book, and I hugged it, and I went to bed with it that night. I woke up in the morning with the book in my hand. And then
Georgina was involved in the publishing of that first book.
Yeah, so Georgina Campbell published the first book, and then now Mitchell Beasley is my publisher in the States, Hachette Books, and then of course we have the TV shows on PBS and Create TV, 2 shows out on channels over in the States.
Yes, we're going to have the links up for those, because the TV show is Kevin Dundon on modern Irish cooking.
Modern Irish food, and Kevin Dundon's Back to Basics. So, and those shows have gone worldwide. Actually, Kevin Dundon's Modern Irish Food won the best culinary show in the world with the New York Film Festival.
Did it?
There. Yeah. So it's
fantastic.
It's really well shot. The talent is crap, but other than that, it's good.
What's your latest cookbook?
The latest cookbook is Kevin Dundon's Back to Basics. So that's in with the TV series, locked in with the TV series. It's really good. It's a really good book as well. But we're about to write a new one. So,
what inspired you? I know it sounds obvious, but I think this is a topic. I hate when people say this, near and dear to my heart, but it is for me. I mean, I grew up doing home economics in school, and I remember making my first pineapple upside down cake when I was 9.
Oh, they're delicious.
Yeah, I know they are. And, I taught myself how to bake, actually. And I remember, do you remember the Caller Cosing Gas cooking competition?
Yeah.
I won.
Did you win?
I did. The Lord Mayor. And I mean, I just like to cook and bake. I have no qualifications. I just been doing it. But my point is, and I still knit and sew and all those things. Yeah. What prompted you to write this book, Back to Basics? It sounds obvious, but I'd like you to maybe talk about the inspiration behind this book, or what this book means to you, or will maybe other people who want to purchase it.
Yeah, I just think that what at the time when I was writing it, we as people all over the world were really, really busy. And I just felt that traditions weren't being passed on from mothers and fathers to son and daughters through the cooking of the family recipes. And I felt as if we missed a generation of passing those recipes on. So you had a whole bunch of people that didn't have that knowledge, that base knowledge to cook. And I wanted to create a cookbook that gives people the foundations of good cooking. And then once you have the foundations of good cooking, then you can diversify and you understand how food works, and you get success every time you go to cook. And that's mainly the reason for it. So like if you take one chapter on eggs, it actually starts by how do you crack an egg, to how do you poach an egg, how to scramble an egg, how to make an omelette, all the way up to making a raspberry souffle, a hot souffle, and meringues in between. But the souffle sounds very daunting for anybody. But once you've gone through the chapter, you've cooked all the way through the chapter, the souffle is so easy for you to do. So.
And if somebody here in the States wants to purchase that book, where can they?
Yeah, they're in Barnes and Nobles, they're in Amazon, they're on all the usual spots. Just Google this fantastic name, Kevin Dundon.
We'll put up
You'll be
the
fine.
link, but it means you've written the book for the American audience too, meaning that there is conversion.
There's
So
cups and ounces and whatever, and sticks of butter.
Yeah,
whatever they are.
Look, you can take the girl out of Ireland, but I still use my weighing scales, and I have cups and I barely use them. But that's wonderful. So one final note on the Back to Basics book is, do you find now with your Instagram videos and everything, it's almost coming full circle with this book, that people are, they're tuning in to watch you for a lot of reasons, but people are kind of revisiting their kitchen almost.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And also what we've done is we have a link on our own website, dunbrodys.com, that you can actually purchase a book that I'll actually sign the personal copy and mail them to you. And we, we pay for the mailing because we're decent.
Oh, that's good to know. But I think that's really lovely to have a book like that right now. So, well, thank you both very much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure.